September 19th. Line council meeting for September 19th, 2024 to order. Before we begin our meeting, I'd like to acknowledge that Stewiacke is a Mi'kmaq, ancestral and unceded territory for the Mi'kmaq people. Welcome those attending electronic. We have no one in the gallery. First, call the attendance. We have a full slate of council. I'm looking for number 3, approval or changes to the agenda.
I'll make that motion that we approve the agenda as presented for Thursday, September the 19th, 2024.
Moved by Councilor Osborne, and seconder. Second, Deputy Chapman. Discussion on the motion. Question has been called. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Looking for disclosure of interest on agenda items. Hearing none, moving to item number 5, as approval of the minutes for August 15th, 2024. That's right.
Just something very little regarding number 5, approval of the combined meeting of July 25th. I think that should say as amended. I believe we amended that. Those meeting minutes.
That's carried as amended.
Underneath, yes.
Yeah.
So is it okay there, or is it? Should it be in both spots? I don't know. I mean, Councilor Perlman, what do you think?
Let me look around. This is on the 20th August.
The July 25th. meeting.
Sorry, I open that. Give me a second.
Where do you think it should be? I'm just wondering if it shouldn't actually be in the motion, like here.
I guess it wouldn't hurt.
I don't know. I'm just asking.
I'll make it up of it. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, make that motion, Councilor.
I'll make that motion that we accept the minutes for August the 15th combined session.
Move the Councilor Osborne, and second, please.
Second.
Second, Councilor Wonderling. Discussion on the motion.
Question.
Question has been called. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? See the announcements or proclamations. We're going to move into number 7, which are presentations, and that's the NP Financial Services. 223 August financial statement. CBI Water Utilities, and tonight we're joined by Kyle Bissell. Good evening, Kyle. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay?
Same with you?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here this evening to present your water utility statement for the year ended March 31st, 2024. Hope it's okay if I share my screen.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you have a statement in front of you, but can everybody also see the statement?
Not
Perfect.
on the screen.
You can't see it on screen?
No.
Okay. My apologies.
There it is.
I think it might be not allowing me to go full screen. So can everybody see that?
Yeah.
Okay. Unfortunately, I'll have to leave the banner. I can't go full screen for some reason. It's not allowing me to do that, but this should suffice. Hopefully it's not too small. So I'll move right into the statement of operations, or statement of financial position rather, for the operating fund. I'll talk about and highlight some of the major changes for the year. So you'll see that cash in your operating fund has increased pretty significantly over the prior year. And there are 2 main reasons for this. The first one is an increase in deferred revenue. And the second one is your surplus for the year. So with regards to the increased deferred revenue, you'll notice here it's almost at a level of 50,000 for the year. That's a pretty significant increase. And of that increase, 42,000 of it relates to funding which was received for a water study, which is expected to happen in the next year. So this is a bit of an unusual item. So just something to highlight there. The other reason you're seeing a fairly large increase in cash is the surplus for the year. So you'll see your fund balance has increased to almost 790,000 in the operating fund, and that's as a result of almost 140,000 in surplus for the year from your operations. So talking about that surplus, we'll move to the next page. We'll look at your statement of financial activities. So this is your income statement for the water utility operating fund. Items we want to highlight here, revenue. So your revenue from the sale of water reached a level of almost 540,000 for the year. And that's a pretty significant jump over the previous year and above budget. And the main reason for that is, as we know, there's been some significant growth in the town. And as a result, water consumption and users have increased. So that is a positive for the utility. And as well, looking at expenses, although the consumption and sale of water is up fairly significantly, you've managed to control your expenses, and they haven't increased at the same rate as the revenue has. So your expenses actually came in a bit under budget for the year, and that allowed for the fairly healthy surplus that we talked about previously, $137,994. And that is also coming as compared to the previous year, which was also a good year with a surplus of over 90,000. So the last 2 years have been very good for the water utility, and it's very positive to see those surpluses where so many utilities in the province are actually seeing deficits. So your town is doing very well from your water operating fund. Next page, this is your statement of cash flows for the water utility. We've already discussed the increase in cash, so there was quite an increase in cash of about 190,000 for the year. As I mentioned, the big contributors to that being the surplus as well as the deferred revenue. Next, we'll look at the capital fund. The capital fund this year, as you know, there have been some very significant capital additions for the year. So your capital additions are almost $1 million in the water capital fund. And the biggest component of those additions are infrastructure that came from the new developments for the year. So there were new streets that were constructed by a developer and then turned over to the town during the year. Of course, as part of that, there was water infrastructure that was turned over. So the accounting standards say that should be recognized at fair value, and the fair value of that was determined to be over 900,000 for the water infrastructure that was in those streets that were turned over from the developer. So that is the largest component of the capital additions for the year. Offsetting those additions are a large increase in your deferred contributions. So because the infrastructure that was in those streets that were turned over to the town came from a third party, that's considered a deferred contribution. And what happens with that is that the deferred contribution or funding will now be parked on the balance sheet and amortized at the same rate as the assets and brought into your income. So if we look at the next page, you'll see here there's amortization of deferred contributions, and that's the amortization of that funding which is coming into your investment capital assets, and that's offset by your depreciation for the year. So while we're on this page, we'll talk about the other statements that are here. So of course, we have our statement of accumulated amortization, accumulated depreciation. You have your regular depreciation for the year, as well as the amortization of the asset retirement obligation, increasing your accumulated amortization for the year. In your statement of changes in the capital fund, you have your fund balance, which is increased to just over 100,000. And the large component in that is an increase in interest income. As we've all seen, interest rates have increased, and the cash in the bank account was able to earn significantly more in the current year than the prior year. As for your investment in capital assets, as we mentioned, you have your amortization of deferred contributions, as well as the debt repayments, which are increasing that component of your net assets. And finally, we have your depreciation fund, which is funded each year by the amount of your amortization. And this fund can be used for the future purchase of capital in your water fund. Any questions on the main parts of the statement? Hearing none, I'll just touch briefly on a few items in your notes and policies. I do want to highlight note 1, which describes a change in the accounting policy under public sector standards. This change was required to be adopted, but it really had very little impact on the financial statements and the way you recognize revenue. So as you can see here, we say there was no material impact on the financial statements for the adoption of this, but as a requirement of the standard, it had to be adopted formally in your statements. Otherwise, there's no change in your significant accounting policies. And moving through the notes, there's really no significant changes here either. Small truck loan was paid off. Otherwise, your municipal finance loans were paid on schedule. Your asset retirement obligation continues to be amortized and accreted. And your rate of return on base rate this year has increased, as we would expect with the increase in the surplus. Otherwise, no major changes to the water financial statements. Hope I stayed on time there, and appreciate your patience and time this evening.
The floor to council. Any questions, comments?
I have one question. Just when you look at the notes on number 2, the significant accounting policies, I just noticed it's like 3 pages long. Is that normal?
Yes, it is. In fact, under some other standards, it's significantly longer. It's a requirement that we disclose all the significant policies, and fortunately for the water utility, it's a relatively simple entity. But for instance, in your consolidated statements, there's quite a few more policies than even here. So it is typical for that number of policies.
So would you say this is a clean audit?
Yes, it is. This is an unqualified opinion. My apologies. I thought that was in the previous presentation by Darren, but that is, we do have an unqualified audit opinion, which is a clean audit.
Any other questions or comments? Yeah, okay, hearing none, thank you again for the presentation.
Well, thank you. Appreciate the mayor and council your time this evening, and I'd like to thank you on behalf of MNP for having us as auditors.
Great. Good night. Okay. No written petitions or correspondence. And there's one that has moved to number 11. Business, I'm going to pass it there over to the point over to Mr. again. And you'll see the report, please. Number 9A1.
Each meeting, we do the regular general administration report, so for this week, we want to report first and foremost, staff and our returning election officer. We're working on the 2024 municipal election right now. There's some key information in the report. As the public may be aware, we've sent out correspondence. The closing was September the 10th at 5 p.m. We have an election happening for 4 council positions. There are 5 candidates, which are noted on page 2 of the report. For the voters, just a reminder that the list of electors is still ongoing, and you can get the list updated if you're not on it. Reminding residents just to reach out to Janet Friday Dory, who's our returning election officer. Her contact information is in the report. If you have any questions, you can email her at 2024election@stewiacke.net or contact her by phone. You will be asked for your name, address, and date of birth in order to update that. Pertaining to the election, there are 2 ways of voting. There will be online and phone voting. IntelliVote will be mailing out information to each registered person on the electoral list as of September the 25th. The online voting will start on October the 10th and end on October the 19th. Will be open from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. daily. And in-person voting, new to this report, we have secured a location for an advanced poll, which will be on October the 12th. That's Saturday, October the 12th, from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Legion in Stewiacke. On election day, October the 19th, from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., voters can turn out to the election location at the Canadian Legion at 299 George Street in Stewiacke. The next update for council pertaining to the RCMP. Following the municipal election, we are required to appoint a police advisory board. We're required to have this in place by December 1st. We will have a public meeting. We've talked about having a public meeting with the RCMP. It seemed fitting to host that meeting in conjunction with the police advisory board being named, having a chair in place. So as soon as that board is named at the first meeting of council in November, we will set a date for that meeting. Update council and public, the CEO and myself was requested to liaise with the RCMP just regarding speeding in town traffic violations. So we made that request. Mark Rose, the commanding officer for the RCMP, has responded. You can see on the next page of the report. They provided the statistics and increased patrols in the area. You can see that they provided statistics for motor vehicle other activity violations was 2, moving traffic violations was 7, non-moving traffic violations was 3. There's no other details other than that for the report, but they have increased the patrols in the area. I know I've heard some stops along number 2 highway in the last couple of weeks. Just check registrations and vehicle safeties by the RCMP. So we're seeing a little bit of increased presence in the area. The Planning Advisory Committee, the next PAC meeting will occur early in November. We're going to host that immediately following the election, and we'll be calling the public meeting pertaining to development and water that we promised the public about a month ago in our last report. So moving on to the Riverside Drive project, first and foremost, we appreciate the public's patience in dealing with that. It's been a quite labor-intensive process getting the water main connection done on Main Street. Our understanding is the detour will be removed tomorrow. I'm waiting for a final sign off by the project manager. Hopefully in the morning I'll get an update from that. I'll be able to update council from there. Our hope is that it will be open tomorrow. In terms of water testing, pressure tests, you can see in the report that we're starting to reconnect, pending pressure tests and connection tests, the residents are getting their water connections back up and connected to their house. So they should see improvements in the water, connections up their residences. We've continued with water main repairs. We're dealing with, aging infrastructure. 3 water main breaks occurred in August on Kitchener Street. Our staff repaired them. No issues after the repair. But we are seeing, additional, cracks in our infrastructure. There's a culvert on Sherbrooke Street, that's been reported. Our staff responded, investigated. It's going to require a full culvert repair. Our staff have ordered the materials, and I'll report to council when that is going to occur. The wastewater study, CBCL was awarded a wastewater study, just reporting that it's on track. We should have reports, back in late October and November on that wastewater study. And from there, we'll be able to look a little bit more in depth at our wastewater infrastructure. In terms of our recreation program, the equipment that was going to be installed at Dennis Park was on track to be begin installation this week. It's been delayed a week just because of the detour. It's hard to get construction equipment in the area, so we're going to delay that, but it will begin in the next week to 2. Summer camp stats was very successful. We enrolled 176 children in the program over the summer. We saw over 100 different families attend the camps, 3 full-time summer students. We had 4 part-time summer students. And our little kids summer camp was a big success for 4 to 5-year-olds. I think I noted it in the last report, but big thank you to Aaron and Ben and all the staff that did that. We've got a number of young families in the area. That program is going to continue to grow. And the service we're providing is obviously been well taken up. So with that, we move into the after-school program. Same demographic. We're seeing a full uptake in the spots in that. Success from last week because of some transportation adjustments. We were able to add 6 additional spaces to the program. So as we're looking for people to fill those spaces last week. Other than that, splash pad, final day of operation was September the 8th, and our fall and winter programs are starting.
What's a Weiner program?
Which page are you looking at?
The fall Weiner program.
Oh, that would be winter. There's a typo there.
Wondering if it was
I
a
think
new type of
One
program.
programs could be a good thing.
It's not a
I'll
PDF.
make an adjustment.
It's not a PDF.
Thank you. So that report does not require motions for information only.
I move into number.
I have 2 questions. One about the RCMP, thank you very much for clarifying when the meeting will take place. But about the detour. So if the detour isn't, finished tomorrow, are we able to do a communication out to our residents somehow?
We can
Saying that?
communicate that.
Okay.
We've made no promises that it was going to be removed in this week. We
Right,
put a timeline of 1 to 2, meaning that it could go into next week. If it's open tomorrow, it's earlier than expected. But we
okay,
can definitely put communication out.
okay. And during your last report, you talked about a emergency exit for Calrye onto the number 2. Did that ever happen?
I am not aware that it did,
Okay.
so potentially it was not required based on the detour route, but I don't know the answer. I can double check on that.
Okay, so I'm just wondering about, the entrance for Calrye, the residents in and out, especially for safety, ambulance, fire. And the whole project should be done by the end of October, is that right?
I believe it's on target for the end of October, yes.
One more question on that topic. I guess reading a letter later on about trees being cut, any resolution to that, or like, is that something Dexter's will repair, or?
Not to my
Is that part
knowledge,
of the
we'll have part of
landscape?
that, we can have that conversation, part of correspondence, but my understanding is that, I wasn't here during that part of the project, but. Anything that was within that, 6 feet of town owned municipal, right of way, was removed, and I don't believe there's any, plan to replant this, but we can look at that for a future budget.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. We're moving into number 9, and that's the 224 audit. Financial water statements, utility financial statement.
Yes, so this report follows, Mr. Munoz' report from, MNP, and the recommendation is that the audit for the town of Studiac water utility financial statements report be received. And the council approved the audit for the town of Studiac water utility financial statements for the period ending March 31st, 2024.
I'll make that.
The deputy mayor Chapman, seconder please. Second, Councilor Freeman. Second on motion.
Question.
As not, all in favor? Opposed, somebody, thank you, Councilor. The 982, and that's the active community fund report. I guess that's the- So,
Yes, over to me, Erin was going to be in attendance tonight to, present her report. Unfortunately, her grandfather fell ill, so she, had to go do a visit this evening, so, I will make my way through this report. It's pretty standard, as part of our, requirements, to the provincial government, the MPAL program funds our staff to the tune of $25,000 for fund recreation staff. As a result, we are required to update our town's physical activity strategy. This requirement is that we update it every 5 years. As a result, staff applied to the funding program, which is the Active Communities Fund. We were successful in getting a grant for doing some work. Following the successful RFP process that Erin and her team conducted, they would like to award the renewal project to Research Power Inc. in the amount of $14,375. And the recommendations before council is that the active community's funding application report be received. And that council award the municipal physical activity strategy renewal project to Research Power Inc. in the amount of $14,375, including HST. And that council authorizes the CEO to execute a contract with Research Power Inc.
before I ask for that motion, any questions or concerns? If there are none, can someone make that motion, please?
I'll make the motion that, staff, or that we, approve the municipal physical strategy renewal project, and that it be awarded to Research Power Inc.
Let's move to Councilor Quinlan, the seconder, please. Second, Deputy Mayor Chapman, discussion on the motion.
Question.
Question has been called, all in favor?
Yeah.
Opposed? Thank you, thank you, Council. Moving number 10. And we have no policy updates tonight, so we're moving the citizens' comments on. Any comments or questions?
Doesn't look like we got anybody online. Kyle was the only person online.
Sure.
So we didn't know if there's a brother from this Judas daughter. We need to redo it.
We'll move to that, and that's been just added to item number 11. That is from the Mr. Sally was different said. I'll read this, the day is September 7th, 2024. Everyone has a copy, I believe. To Town Council, I am writing this letter and asking that it be read at your last council meeting. I would also like someone to address my concerns in person within 48 hours. My first question is, who decided that Riverside Avenue needed a sidewalk with neither Joffrey Street or Asquith Avenue did not? Also, why was there no public consultation or at least information sessions for the residents that live on the street beforehand? To have our properties mutilated as they have been, to me, we at least shown some respect for the property owners. The fact that my tree was taken down without any prior warning was most distressing to me. I'm very angry and upset over this. The oak tree was bought in centennial year 2026 as part of the town celebration. I've also recently found out that a male person had an apology because his tree was coming down, that I, as an older female, was not due the same courtesy. Some of you may think this was only a tree, but it meant a great deal to me as it was planted by Russell and prized by him. Thank you for your time and consideration of this issue. It was signed by Judy Studdard. So I've had some questions about this, so bear with me. It's a letter to be brought forward. It was not open for discussion, but I'm open to how we should proceed with this. Myself and Mr. Hicks again has spoken, like who responds, I assume it would be yourself. It's brought forward as an information, but it's also open to discussion at the table, I believe. And sometimes we'll usually have a letter comes in, it's read, presented, and that's kind of where we're at. What is the consensus from council?
Regarding how we should proceed, should we discuss it or not?
Discuss it, or there was a back to operations for the students, it came to council, so I assume it comes to council table.
I had actually, got dawned on me kind of late this afternoon that where it's a citizen comment, we don't usually discuss citizen comment. And so that maybe it needed to be in a different spot on the agenda. Having said that, I guess another alternative would be for it to be in the October agenda, which would give staff some time to. Yeah, that's reasonable.
Okay, so we'll defer it back and bring it forward next council.
What do you think, Susie?
Anybody else?
That was just my thing. What everybody else thinks.
I too thought it should be moved up to correspondence, so that we could have a discussion about it. However, I would like to have discussion about it. I feel extremely bad about it. I've heard a lot of concerns regarding some of the construction that's going on. It's unfortunate that it's under number 11. But to put it off for another month, I don't know.
My feeling would be to give Mr. Sagan time to address that before the request by you. Get more information, to look at what did or did not happen, the processes that were not placed, as you said, you were not here when that was awarded. I've also had some phone calls in the last 24 hours, concerns, and how the situation developed, so.
If I can, I don't believe deferring this is going to hold up any response to the resident. I will respond within 48 hours and deal with that. I think the conversation is what can be done to re-beautify the area. I think we talked about trees and potentially, adding that conversation to the budget for the next year. Maybe some planting in the spring to bring back the area. That could be an option. That might be what you discuss at the next meeting.
So you've had that discussion already?
I have not had that discussion. This is a resident concern that was asked to be read. And at this point, staff have done everything that was in the project scope. So if additional work is to be done, that needs to be approved by council in the budget for us to proceed to do that.
So where would we talk about other concerns that are happening during, like on that street?
I think those are just general conversations that can be had. I don't know that they need to come to council. We talk about issues daily with projects and we rectify and reel things in as required. If there's a specific issue or item that you need to report on, you need options to discuss, we can have that conversation and I can bring that to the table in October. We can take that offline and figure out what questions are had and what options want to be discussed, and I can report on them and bring them to the council for discussion.
Are you still meeting with the project manager of the project?
Yes, we meet with them pretty much weekly, yes.
It's possible there might be a spot in the budget for beautification. I don't know if we have a line item to that effect, but that might be an option as well, that's not been used,
At this one.
just a thought, yeah.
Or that whole side of the street that's been
Mhm.
destroyed.
But I guess, yeah, I guess it would depend on how much that was gonna be, but. Anyway.
Okay.
My suggestion is it be item on the agenda for October 3rd.
October 3rd?
Are you not meeting October
You guys
3rd?
need a motion to talk about what date it will be in October.
If we need him, okay.
So we can defer till we get that motion on the floor and bring it back. I think that'd be okay.
No,
Are you okay with that,
it's
Councilor?
Not on the agenda.
Councilor? Okay. We'll wait for the motion forward and then discuss and then bring it back.
It's not on the
There's
agenda.
nothing on the agenda to talk
Sorry.
about a meeting date for.
Yeah, whatever, we should go back and adjust and add a motion on number 15 for council discussion.
We got 15.
Say, what you want there?
Is that proper? After we've already approved the agenda?
It's note number 15 and reconsider.
It's definitely not proper protocol, we've missed that, but council needs to have a discussion regarding the October meeting. So how would you suggest we handle that?
I don't know, I've never come across this before. Councilor Crone?
Well, I guess I haven't either. I do know that with the dates of the election, I guess I never thought about adding it to the agenda because I just assumed we agreed to our CAO's suggested dates for our next meeting, and that October 3rd would be a combined session, and then that would be the end of council meetings for this mandate.
But since
Okay.
then, they've announced an engagement session on the 3rd for,
Yeah, there's a meet and greet.
I did not see that.
The 3rd, from 6:30 to 8:30.
What is it?
There's a meet and greet at the community center.
Okay.
Being put on by
Chamber.
Chamber from 6:30 to 8:30.
Was that so?
3rd.
It's sent to candidates, yes.
Cancel it.
Yes.
That's a third.
So would we not just keep the October the 10th date? As. But I guess I just don't, I don't know where we, like, our agenda's already been approved.
That is the best date at this point to hold the meeting on October the 10th.
And so it would need to be made a combined session, would it not?
Yes,
It's not just the
I
committee of the
recommend
whole.
it would. The following date, which would be the regular council meeting, would be during the cooling off period of the election. We shouldn't hold any meetings during that period.
Are we going to have anything to discuss in October where there's no committee meetings?
Oh, there'll be Riverside. And trees.
I guess, again, we're discussing something that's not an agenda item. And I'm not comfortable. I'm just not comfortable discussing something that's not an agenda item after we've already approved the agenda.
Maybe something you can send it.
But we can just continue with the meeting on October the 10th.
That's
That's
correct.
planned.
Okay. Now we can lie.
Well, you have to have a motion to put it down, or do you think that'd be an announcement? We usually have an announcement in our agenda that
We can.
what meeting is, gonna be a combined session.
Will that be a combined on the 10th?
That's what I'm asking.
Okay.
Well, no, I don't know if I'm asking.
It could be just committee of the whole and the council meeting, because the cooling off period is occurring. Just might not occur or might happen, we could have it
The
on,
next week.
we could move the date, we need to have a swearing in ceremony. Which technically is a meeting of the council. Which the recommendation in the email was to have it on Wednesday, September or October 30th.
Yeah, probably what you need to do.
So we're proceed on October 10th.
But then you can say clear as mud. Okay. This is my report number 12. Missing anything for one? Did you ever also here say, excuse me? I was safe tonight. Okay, I've got a few updates. I completed an exit interview with the mayor's office in Saltwater. I attended the Native Council of Nova Scotia's General Assembly and the Future Works AGM. I met with West Hants Mayor Adrian Zabian. I attended the Provincial Volunteer Awards in Toronto yesterday. Congratulations to Susan McPhee, Volunteer of the Year. It was wonderful to see. Sorry, Shannon. That's not the end, not the first. Shannon McPhee. Shannon was there and she actually got to meet the Lieutenant Governor and had some photos. Yeah, wonderful afternoon. Weekly meetings, and I say meetings, are continuing with Mr. Seguin. I met with our town solicitor, Charles Thompson. I prepared a letter for MLA Larry Harrison to recognize former councilor Mary Como to be read in the Nova Scotia Legislature, and once that's read, it'll be posted on our Facebook site. And Mr. Harris is going to make that announcement in the legislature as soon as he can. Actually, give it to him tomorrow. I issued my final newsletter as mayor, and I'll be working with Mr. Seguin and our mayor-elect Doug Glacier to ensure we have a smooth transition into office when he's sworn in. And congratulations to Doug and being the incumbent. And that's my report, and I'll go to Deputy Mayor Chapman to that, please.
Well, I do have something prepared as my goodbye speech, but I'll wait till next month.
You're deferring now.
I'm deferring.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Anything else, Deputy Mayor?
That's it.
Councilor? Councilor?
No.
Councilor Berman?
For me.
Councilor Berman?
Just, been to some committee meetings this month, and I wanted to shout out to Shannon McPhee as well for Volunteer of the Year. And the Welcome Network Day at the Community Center seemed like a great event, so it's been very interesting.
Thank you, Council. So we're gonna move into in camera, and I'll wait until we're ready. Go ahead, please.
You want a motion to go in?
Yes. The motion, you want to make that motion, Councilor?
I'll make that motion that we go in camera at 7:42.
Okay, got a second, please? Second, McBurman. 7:42 there.
I will see logging off this Zoom session.
Very careful.
No.
Good night.